Tombstone wasn't just a silver town. It was a powder keg, and two groups were about to strike a match. In the booming silver town of Tombstone, Arizona, two groups were headed for a clash. On one side were the Earp brothers Virgil, Wyatt, and Morgan, who worked as lawmen. On the other was a loose band of outlaws known as the Cowboys, who were known for cattle rustling and causing trouble. The leader of the Cowboys, Clanton, loved to drink and make threats. For months, he bragged that he would kill the Earps and their friend, the deadly gambler Doc Holliday. The tension in the town was so thick you could almost touch it. The law said no one could carry guns in town. But on the morning of October 26, 1881, Clanton was walking the streets, drunk, armed, and shouting threats, looking for a fight. Four lawmen decided to walk down a single street. What happened next would become a legend. With the Clantons and McLaurys brothers armed and gathered in a vacant lot, Marshal Virgil Earp knew he had to act. He made a fateful decision. He would disarm the Cowboys himself. He deputized his brothers Wyatt and Morgan and his friend Doc Holliday. They were a small army of four. As they prepared to leave, the local sheriff, Johnny Bean, who was friends with the Cowboys, ran up to them. He claimed he had already taken the Cowboys' guns and there would be no trouble. Trusting the sheriff, Virgil and Wyatt put away the pistols they were holding. They continued their walk down Fremont Street, thinking they were only going to talk. As they turned the corner, they saw the Cowboys in the narrow lot, and every one of them was still armed. The sheriff had lied. The two groups stood just 6 feet apart, staring each other down. Virgil Earp shouted, "Throw up your hands, I want your guns." In a split second, the decision would be made. Who would draw first? Marshal Virgil Earp had enough. He found Ike on the street, knocked him out with his pistol, and arrested him. But Ike wasn't alone for long. His brother Billy and the dangerous McLaurys brothers rode into town, and they were all armed. The Earps now faced 4 angry Cowboys. Would the lawmen back down, or would they march into a fight they might not win? The gunfight lasted less than a minute, but in that time, the Wild West was changed forever. When Virgil Earp commanded the Cowboys to surrender, everything happened at once. 2 shots rang out so close together, they sounded like one. Billy Clanton and Wyatt Earp had fired almost simultaneously. The narrow lot exploded into a storm of gunfire and black powder smoke. Doc Holliday unleashed a shotgun blast. Morgan Earp was shot in the back and fell. Virgil Earp was hit in the leg. The unarmed Clanton, who had made so many threats, panicked and ran away without firing a shot. In the chaos, the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday stood their ground against the Cowboys' desperate fire. When the shooting stopped, the dust settled on a scene of carnage. 3 men lay dead in the dirt, Billy Clanton and Tom and Frank McLaurys. But the fight wasn't over for the Earps. Morgan was badly wounded, and the Cowboys who escaped were swearing revenge. Was this the end of the violence, or just the beginning? They won the gunfight, but a new, more dangerous war was just beginning. The townspeople were divided. Some saw the Earps as heroes, others called them murderers. A judge eventually ruled that the lawmen had acted within their rights, but the Cowboys wanted revenge. First, Virgil Earp was ambushed. He was shot in the back and lost the use of his left arm. Then, months later, Morgan Earp was murdered, shot in the back while playing pool. The legal system seemed powerless to stop the Cowboys. A grief-stricken and furious Wyatt Earp knew the law had failed. He was now a deputy U.S. Marshal, and he decided to take justice into his own hands. Wyatt formed a new posse, including his brother Warren and a loyal Doc Holliday. They swore a vendetta to hunt down the Cowboys responsible for his brother's suffering. They were no longer lawmen. They were hunters. What would Wyatt do now that he was operating outside the law he had once sworn to uphold? The gunfight was over in less than a minute, but the story would last forever. Wyatt Earp's Vendetta ride was swift and brutal. His posse tracked down and killed several Cowboys they believed were behind the attacks. When it was over, Wyatt and Doc Holliday left Arizona for good. For decades, the gunfight was just a footnote in history. But years after Wyatt Earp's death, a writer published a book that made him a superstar. Hollywood soon followed, making movie after movie about the shootout. They called it the Gunfight at the OK Corral, even though it didn't happen in the corral itself. The Earp brothers and Doc Holliday became eternal symbols of the Old West, a story of lawmen, outlaws, and 30 seconds that created a legend which will never die.